Well, this one is one I've never told, and it's pretty unique because he almost died. He almost got killed in Greenville, Tennessee. It's a little town about halfway between Knoxville and Bristol, Tennessee. It's close to the Smokies, in the edge of the Smoky Mountains. And he and his brother wrestled in a tag match in Greenville. And he told me about this. You know, I spend a lot of time with him. And when you fly, you end up with a lot of time with guys, and you get to get stories from them. And he told me about, and he says, I was coming out of the ring in Greenville, and he goes, it was a pretty hot match. And he said, you know, people was already in the ring. We left the ring because there was so many people in the ring. We figured we'd have a better shot making it into the dressing room. Half the crowd was in the ring. You know, I said, are you serious? And he goes, yes. He goes, yeah, I'm serious. I'm telling you now, Ron, I'm going to tell you what happened to me. And he said, I got about halfway back to the dressing room. He said, I was fighting them off of me, and me and Donnie is fighting for our lives. And he said, I felt this burn in my back. And he says, I never felt nothing like that in my life. He said, a guy took a razor or he took a knife and he stabbed me in the back just below the vertebrae in my neck where it goes into your spine. And he said, he went all the way to my ass with that knife. He said, It laid me open. He said, it laid me open. He said, when I got in the dressing room, he said, I didn't know how bad I was. And he said, the blood was pretty well everywhere, all over the floor in just a matter of minutes. And he said, I couldn't get it to stop, and they couldn't help me to stop it. He said, they followed us to the dressing room, the crowd. And he says, now the crowd crammed around the door out there, and they's trying to get into the dressing room. He said, they wanted to finish me, right? So it is hard not to laugh, but at the same time, I'm picturing this and I'm thinking, my gosh, what a horrible experience. He says, so I said, well, where are the police? And he said, well, hell, the police left before the riot started. He said, as soon as the first guy jumped in the ring, I seen them both run for the back door. He said, so we was on our own. So he said, we got the door locked, and he said, we stuck chairs underneath the doorknob because they was pounding out there. They was trying to break in there. He said, I was bleeding to death. So he said, Donnie laid a towel on the floor, and another wrestler had a towel. He put it on the floor. I think it was Johnny Long. I can't remember who he said it was. He said, they laid these towels on the floor, and they laid me down with my back on them towels. He said, cut off the bleeding a little bit if we could. He said, now we are stuck and we're in the dressing room. We ain't got no cops. We got about 50 or 100 people outside the dressing room door. And he says, I really need to get to a hospital. I'm a dying. I said, Ron, what do you do in a case like that? And he says, we was about 12 feet off the ground in the back of the building. And he says, Johnny Long took a chair, and he says he broke that window, threw it through the chair, through the window. And he says he jumped out the window, and he went to his car. He got in his car, and he said he drove down there to the sheriff's office, to the police station, and he said, they're killing these guys up here. You need to come and help them. And he said, they finally here to come the posse. He said, here come the sheriff. They had the lights on, and they pushed all the people back, made them get back. And they got a hold of me, and they helped me. He said, I was pretty well unconscious by then. And he said, they took me. And so for years, the years I was around him, lots of times I would get heat because I was getting over as a heel, and he would, as a rib, he would say sometimes to me before I'd go out to the match, you know, he'd know it was going to be a hot finish, and he would go, Ron, he'd turn his back to me, and he'd say, don't forget this, Ron. He had that big scar all the way down his back, man. I was like, hot dog. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that, man. You're making me feel a lot better here. So those guys experienced some things that just unbelievable. Probably some of the stuff that he did, he and his brother, and the riots that they were in. We had them so often in the southeastern days that I had to hire guys to go with Stomper I had to hire police officers out of Knoxville to escort us into the cities, and they would stand at ringside right in the corner, in his corners, to keep the fans from getting in the ring.